I can orgasm, but I can't orgasm from penetration, from the vaginal sex. It's one of the most common things that I've heard in my practice working with women over the last 20 years. And both women and men are always really confused. What is wrong? What's broken? What do I need to do here to make it happen, right? So I'm going to tell you today exactly why that happens and what you can do to change that. I'm going to start by giving you the conventional perspective. The current scientific explanation, which is accepted everywhere in the conventional sexology, but afterwards I need to give you a different perspective, which is a lot less widely known right now, and that allows you to not limit yourself to this conventional narrative and to discover true vaginal orgasmicity in vaginal sex. And that's based on a lot of data in my consultancy over the last 20 years, observing those results in many women that I worked with. So I want both men and women to understand this. I'm going to explain on fingers because it's risky to use any pictures of this kind on YouTube. When you're looking for a vaginal orgasm in penetration, you are looking for the same kind of feeling that a woman gets when she comes from the clitoris. That's just what you expect. You're expecting that from stimulation inside the vagina, there will be a buildup of tension that will reach a peak, a climax. It will release that reflex from there. There will be an explosion of intense pleasure and then a feeling of relaxation and release, right? The only structure in a woman's body that is able to create this kind of experience is the clitoris. You are just not going to stimulate the clitoris when you're moving the penis inside the vagina. It's just not on the way. Generally speaking, it is from the stimulation of the clitoris on the outside, from grinding, when there is enough contact from the man's pubis on the clitoral head and on the outside. So it's basically a clitoral orgasm that happens during the vaginal intercourse, and some women interpret it as a vaginal orgasm. I've spoken to a lot of women in my work that 9 times out of 10, when I ask them, how does it happen exactly? What did you do? It turns out it was grinding. Women interpret it as a vaginal orgasm because they think that it feels different from when you're just stimulating on the outside. It does feel different. Why? Because you got something inside the vagina. So while you're having an orgasm, there's, the vagina is stretched, the vagina is stimulated, so there's a blended feeling to it. This is going to happen for a minority of women. For the vast majority of women, this kind of grinding is not going to be precise enough, direct enough, fast enough or strong enough or whatever. You basically need quite a specific clitoris with a particular anatomy, particular sensitivity, basically a non-standard clitoris to be able to come from grinding. Now, to be totally fair, there are a couple of other possibilities why a woman might have an orgasm during the intercourse without even the grinding, and it is still a clitoral orgasm. I have seen those cases in my practice. Because the clitoris is not the head, it's quite a large structure. So, there's the head of the clitoris, and then there's legs of it, the body of the clitoris that goes into the vaginal lips, and then there's a body, a part of it that goes into the vagina. So you might get a few exceptions, outliers amongst women who, when the penis is stimulating the vagina, they can orgasm just from stimulating the legs of the clitoris in the lips, or by stimulating the G-spot. For those areas to be able to get stimulated by the penis, only by the penis, to release into a full-on climax, far more rare than women who can come from grinding. The G-spot could release into a climax, but you would need a very different stimulation that you can only give with the fingers that the penis wouldn't be able to provide normally. In the recent study that surveyed thousands of women, only between 21 and 30% of women have ever been able to orgasm during the intercourse without specifically directly stimulating the head of the clitoris with fingers or something else, or vibrator. So this 1 in 4 includes all the women who orgasm from grinding, because that wasn't isolated, there was no question on that. So basically that's the explanation from the mainstream sex information and conventional sex science. The orgasm is building up to that tension and releasing it for a moment of amazing sensation. That can happen only from the clitoris. The thrusting of the penis in the vagina is not going to stimulate the clitoris at all. If you want an orgasm, you have to stimulate the clitoris with a hand or vibrator, and a minority of women might be able to do it through grinding. Deal with it, that's the way it is. And you can keep getting stressed about it, and you might find somebody who will tell you what you want to hear, and they will bamboozle you with it. You can find some kind of a workaround, like use a vibrator or grind harder just to make sure you do get that orgasm, that climax during the intercourse. But even if you do work around it like this, it still takes you away from a truly great experience that you could potentially have. So I'd like to give you a very different perspective now. And this allows you to not limit yourself with that conventional narrative like nothing is possible. Many women who supposedly can't be orgasmic in penetration can indeed be very orgasmic in penetration. I have seen this in my practice many times. I've seen so many real-life cases. But you have to understand the greater truth about vaginal orgasmicity. Vaginal orgasms have been misrepresented to women all this time, I believe. It's a whole different experience of female orgasmicity. The problem is the model that we are using in sex to describe what female orgasmicity is. And it's a very narrow description of just, that climax that you get from the clitoris, like nothing else exists. So a vagina is a very different place and a very different experience from the clitoris. And a vaginal orgasm is not a climax like from the clitoris that you're trying to replicate inside the vagina, because it creates this impression of one singular quick event. It's better to call this vaginal orgasmicity, the vagina being orgasmic, because that's a prolonged state of vagina being orgasmic during sex. There is an orgasmic flow from the vagina. It's an ongoing orgasmic experience flowing into you. It could be a steady one, it could be coming in a series of peaks that keep flowing into you and saturating you. For most women, these experiences, once opened, they become far more fulfilling, far more enriching, far more satisfying than a quick climax that you might be looking for right now. They feel far more blissful and pleasurable than that quick moment of pleasure. But they also tend to make a woman feel after sex far more, alive and replenished and vibrant and recharged and glowing and a lot more merged with her partner. These experiences, they flow deeper into your system and they leave a lot more behind. So in this way, it is an experience that is far superior to a climax. These are experiences we have known about for a long time from alternative advanced sexual energy arts. But even recently, one of the most well-known researchers on female orgasms, a neuroscientist, has mentioned that female orgasmicity has a much lower threshold to become orgasmic in your body. There's all sorts of orgasmic neural activity that can happen from lots of different things in your body. Female orgasmicity is not binary, you have an orgasm or not. It is a spectrum of different orgasmic experiences. And the climax is kind of on the lower end of that spectrum as one of the less enriching ones. And these experiences are at the greater end of that spectrum. Orgasmicity can emerge inside the vagina during penetration from different areas. The G-spot, the cervical depth of the vagina, the entrance to the vagina can become super orgasmic as well. The whole vagina can become an orgasmic state. How does that happen, of course, you're going to ask me? Well, you've got to get out of this mentality that this particular movement makes a woman come. Like, it's never worked this way. As with most things in sex for women, there are a few parts of the picture that can make a woman orgasmic in the vagina during sex. Different sex coaches will have different approaches to this. I can tell you what I have seen in my consultancy, in that very intensive research that I've done for the last 20 years, working with many women directly and seeing what can help them to open that orgasmicity. You have to stop trying to rub the vagina to a climax like something is going to happen from this. You have to relax and create really great sexual energy inside the vagina. Enjoy every moment of it. This does, of course, involve really knowing the sensitive areas inside the vagina, how to engage them really well with the right stimulation, the right progressiveness, so you're not just rubbing it with dumb friction. The woman needs to relax, stop chasing something, stop being tight about penetration. The woman needs to be more present in her body, really tuning into, feeling into the vagina. Another thing that I found tends to be quite important is how the woman is emotionally connecting to her partner through the vagina. It's also quite a particular practice. Arousal, I've seen, is super important. I've seen women become orgasmic in the vagina just from really good, powerful arousal. But it has to be arousal through actually loving a woman's body, creating real sexual energy in her body, not some mental stimulation. So it's basically just really good sex that works really well for a woman's body. You're not even trying to do it for an orgasm. It's just a great lovemaking that feels amazing to both of you. It's what it all should be about. And vaginal orgasmicity can be a product of that, as you would expect. If you're interested, I now teach all of these components in my holistic sex course to equip people to do all these parts really well. I teach that course both to women and men so that everybody can understand this. And also in my Perfect Lover course, I teach these parts to men only. In my opinion, this is how orgasmicity in the vagina really works. And quite often when women are not orgasmic, it's often because they're just not getting really good sex, essentially. Could be due to both lovers just not knowing enough how to make sex work really well. Could be due to this myth that, you will get a vaginal orgasm by this really hectic friction that actually kills orgasmicity in the first place. So it can go in a couple of different ways. I've seen quite a few women who were immediately orgasmic in the vagina just when they approached things in a better way. So they already had that capacity sitting there. They just needed the right access. But quite often it can be a development. There's nothing to wait for. You can just start enjoying the better sex already. Maybe you don't call it orgasmic yet, but the more you practice it, the more you relax into it, the more you enjoy it, the more the capacity builds. And actually, bonus is that if you go about your vagina this way, then if you do have that wiring that allows you to have a climax inside the vagina through some kind of indirect stimulation of one of the structures of the clitoris, you're going to be at your most sensitive and your most tuned in to do this, far more likely to happen in that case than just banging it monotonously. There aren't any guarantees. There's no office we can go to and say, okay, I'm not going to work on the climax, but I would like to be assured that I'm going to have these greater vaginal orgasmic experiences. You will just have to go on this journey and explore what's there for you. But rubbing the vagina for the climax is not going to get you anywhere. And the last thing that I want to leave you with is that this is still not the most important thing in sex. All orgasms are just an optional addition that might happen, including this kind of vaginal orgasmicity. What needs to happen here, including in the vagina, is that you're spending time together in that flow of sexual energy, whichever way it flows. Maybe it's more gentle, maybe it's more intense. You're feeling connection with each other, you're sharing physical love with each other, and you're being enriched by this, whatever is happening here. Does it sometimes cross over into what you would call vaginal orgasmicity? Maybe, but it doesn't really matter. And the more you fixate on that, the less likely it's going to happen anyway. You've got to understand that the most important thing is that right now, in any way, you are nourished, you are enriched by this sexual energy. Is it orgasmic? Is it not orgasmic? And that's what really needs to happen here.